You want more college football content from Chat Sports? Here's your chance to let your voice be heard. If we can get 20 or more subscribers off today's video, then we'll bring you even more college football content than ever before, as we're talking everything from conference realignment to NIL, the transfer portal, recruiting, and counting you down to the college football playoff and more. It's all right here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv, and we'll get started with today's show. Is the Super Conference era finally here in college football? Welcome in to this edition of College Football Now. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us as we are talking about the latest proposal for an official college football super league from the College Sports Tomorrow group. This is an organization that is being run with advisors of the likes of Grant Hill, Bubba Cunningham, Danny White, Kirby Hocutt, among others in the college sports universe. And they've all come together with this idea of where to take college football going forward in 2032 and beyond. Here is what they are proposing. 136 FBS schools split between just two conferences. The top 72 programs would compete in what would be known as the Power 12 Conference, while the remaining 64 programs would compete in the Group of 8 Conference. Top teams from the Group of 8 would then be eligible for promotion, and you would also see teams in the Power 12 possibly relegated, similar to European soccer. And the 24-team playoff would be the postseason result, which would feature division winners out of the conferences and also wild card spots at stake. Now, I'll be honest, I hate this idea. I think it's utterly ridiculous, to be honest. And the big problem for me is that you are taking away the identities of these top conferences in college football. I know that the Pac-12 has already gone by the wayside, but really, are we going to take away the brand and the history and the recognition of some of these power leagues like the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, the Big 12 for what we would call the Power 12 or the Group of 8? To me, it's a terrible idea. Let's run through what these divisions in the Power 12 would look like. You would start with the East Division, which would feature Boston College, Maryland, Navy, Notre Dame, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. The Mid-East Division would feature Cincinnati, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, and West Virginia. Then you would have the Great Lakes Division, which would include Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Purdue. You're telling me Michigan and Ohio State aren't even in the same division? Yeah, Ohio State's competing for the Midwest Division title? Ugh. That includes Ohio State, Iowa, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. And that's not all, folks. It continues. The Carolinas Division, featuring Clemson, Duke, NC State, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Wake Forest. The Mid-South Division. Who wants to win a Mid-South Division title? I can guarantee you Alabama would much prefer to win the SEC any day over the Mid-South. They'd be joined by Auburn, Kentucky, Louisville, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Then you have the Southeast, which would feature Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Miami, and UCF. The South Division would include Arkansas, LSU, Houston, Memphis, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. The Plains Division would include Colorado, Kansas, Kansas State, Mizzou, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. Texas would get its own division with former members of the Southwest Conference, Baylor, SMU, TCU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech all reunited under one umbrella. The Southwest would include Arizona, Arizona State, Cal, Stanford, UCLA, and USC. The West Division would include BYU, Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, Washington, and Washington State as well. So that is a look at the entire Power 12 Conference. We'll get to the Group of 8 in a moment and break that down for you piece by piece of what that side would look like. But I got to tell you, this does not sound appealing to me at all. I believe that we are going to head the direction of a Super League, and I'll explain more later in the show what I think that actually looks like. But personally, I'm not a fan of this idea. Do you like this proposal of a college football Super League? If you do, type Y for yes. If not, if you're like me, I'm typing in for no. Type in for no, weigh in, let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for last-minute tickets, the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's going to be one you don't want to pass up on. They have their seat views as well, so you can get the visual and see what that seat is like with their 3D view. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You then choose your seat, and then from there, you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Now let's take a look at the Group of 8 conference, which starts with the East Division, which includes Delaware, James Madison, Liberty, Temple, UConn, and UMass. Then you have the Mid-East Division, which would include Akron, Bowling Green, Buffalo, Kent State, Marshall, Miami of Ohio, and Toledo. Then you go to the Midwest, which would include Ball State, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Middle Tennessee, Missouri State, Northern Illinois, Western Kentucky, and Western Michigan. And then there's the Group of 8 Atlantic Division, which features Appalachian State, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, East Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Kennesaw State, and Old Dominion. The Southeast features Florida Atlantic, Florida International, Jacksonville State, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Troy, UAB, and USF. The South Division also includes Arkansas State, Louisiana, formerly known as Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Tech, North Texas, Rice, Sam Houston State, Tulsa, and ULM. While the Central Division includes Colorado State, New Mexico State, and Texas State, along with UTEP, UTSA, and Wyoming. And then we round up things with the Group of 8 West Division, which includes Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, Nevada, San Diego State, UNLV, and Utah State. Now, I'll say this. For as much as I hate this idea, it isn't all bad. I don't like the concepts at all of how they have these teams split up in these different divisions and ending the conference brands as we know it. But there are some good ideas that College Sports Tomorrow is putting in place. This comes from Justin Williams of The Athletic in an article he wrote this week. Off the field, the CSFL would collectively bargain via a single comprehensive players association, which the CST's proposal suggests could lobby in tandem with the league for a specific classification from Congress, enabling athletes to seek collective representation without being deemed employees. According to the CST, this would provide college athletes input on rules and compensation while offering the league protection from antitrust claims via the non-statutory labor exemption. The CFSL could also utilize a salary cap for teams and pay scales for player earnings and proposes new guidelines such as limiting athletes to 2 transfers within a 5-year window of eligibility. So, with that said, of seeing where college sports is going from where we were at a few years ago to where we are now with the transfer portal, with NIL, along with everything that's gone on with just all these conference changes, is college football headed in the wrong direction right now? What do you think of the state of the sport as we're talking about this? Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no on your opinion of where college football is headed from here. Now, here's why I don't think this is going to happen at the end of the day, this idea from College Sports Tomorrow. And for me, it comes down to one man and one man in particular, Greg Sankey and the SEC. if we're going to be honest, everybody in college football wants to be the SEC and wants what the SEC has. They are, without question, the best conference in college football. They got even better this offseason with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas. They're true to their saying that it just means more in the SEC. And the moves that you're seeing all across college football, remember, this latest round of realignment, in large part, was due in response to the SEC adding Oklahoma and Texas. And when you see what the SEC is doing, all of these other people are saying, we want a piece of the pie. We want to be a part of what the SEC has and spread the wealth for everyone else in college football. And I got to tell you, if you're the SEC, if your programs like Alabama, like Georgia, LSU, and others, you got a good thing going. And you got a bright future charting your own path. Why would you give up the power and the stranglehold you have on college football to do this and also find yourself in a position where you're giving up those great matchups that we have here? I personally, as a consumer, much rather see Alabama play Texas than I would see some of them play in their division that they've been granted. I don't need to see Texas play SMU anymore. I'd rather see them play the Georgias, the Oklahomas, and that of the world here. That's where I see this going, is that the SEC and the Big Ten, for that matter, are going to do what they can to stop these type of proposals from going forward and getting in their way. Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, was asked on the Triple Option podcast about this concept of a Super League, and he said, I've studied it a little bit, and I've come back to, I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be a part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen. They would want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth. A Super League could happen, but I think the more likely way that a Super League happens is by the SEC and the Big Ten leading the charge and them being the ones to push a Super League. Whether it's just the SEC and the Big Ten as two mega conferences competing back and forth, or adding the Big 12 into the fold potentially. I don't think the ACC is going to last much longer. That's how I see this direction going. This idea of everybody being equal in a sport that's not equal, I just don't see simply happening. For continuing college football coverage, subscribe now to Chat Sports and College Football Now. We'll see you next time here on the program. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us.